Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to the new show, the Daily Covered Call Report. So I'm going to try to start doing this new show about 10:30 every morning, and I think it'll work out better, but it's going to be very similar to the old show. The only difference being I'm going to publish an agenda, and the agenda is going to run across the bottom of the screen. So, the first item where I'm introducing the new show, but next we're going to talk about the Roundhill dividend. It was declared yesterday. I should have talked about it yesterday, but I missed it. Then we're going to talk about the yield max dividend. The reason I put a question mark is because I didn't know if it was out yet when I was making these slides this morning. It wasn't out yet. I just checked and it is out. So then at the end of the show, I'm going to talk about, channel announcements, and if I'm upset about my computer, or if I have an issue with Windows, all that fun stuff that I like to talk about, or if I have a rant or something, we'll put that at the end of the show. So if those people that want to hear it can still hear it, those people that don't, we'll do the business first. So after the yield max single stocks, we'll do the channel news and rants. Okay. I don't know if I announced Defiance. That's what I was trying to say. We're going to do the new show, the Roundhill dividend, the yield max dividend, Defiance. We're going to look at their positions. Then we're going to look at the yield max single stocks and channel news. Okay. If you guys want different order of that, you can request it in the comments for sure. This show's for you, but I want to quit covering Defiance exclusively is my idea. I'm still going to cover it because I want to know what the extrinsic is. No one else, the reason I don't want to quit doing the spreadsheets is because no one else tracks the extrinsic. If I quit doing that, if Corey was doing that, to tell you the truth, or retiring dividends, I would probably quit it and just concentrate on other stuff. But I want to have access to that. So we're going to still talk about Defiance, but I'm also covering more companies, and I'll get plenty of requests. I need to talk more about SFAL and more about there's lots of funds that are interesting funds that I never talk about, and that's not right. And that's going to change because I'm just broadening the show out. So the reason I call it the Daily Covered Call Report, I was trying to think what makes my content unique, and I want to just stick with the funds that sell options. So that's usually covered calls or short puts, income option funds, but that can also include these funds that sell options, sell calls to buy a put where they lock out downside. I'm going to cover those too, but basically I'll stay away from ETFs that don't sell options. So I'm going to try to stay in my wheelhouse. Let's talk about this Roundhill dividend real quick. I apologize I missed it yesterday, and I also wanted to tell you some remarks from Jay that he told me in New York. It wasn't recorded. It was at dinner, but it was about Roundhill, and you guys might be interested. All right, let's get in the middle of it. Okay, so Roundhill, they only declared 19 cents on the QDTE, where they declared almost twice as much last time. That really doesn't surprise me it doesn't surprise me that much when you look at some of the other funds, but because volatility is getting crushed, but it was a little surprising too. So let's take a look at the XDTE dividend. These guys sell daily options on the SPX. The other guys sold daily options on the NDX. But these guys do the same day of options. They don't sell the night before like Jay does. That's a slight distinction, but it's important to understand what that does to the strategy. Well, these guys have always getting crushed as well. They were down from 26 cents last month to 21 cents. That's a pretty big decline, but like I say, it is in line with the other results we've been seeing with yield max that also does daily options. All Jay said, because I have a theory on Roundhill that it's going to do better in an up market, but it's going to do better in terms of NAV appreciation because they don't cap at night. And a lot of times, especially in bull markets, the market will go up at night. Lots of times it does. And so I think that's going to be a slight advantage. Now, that's not going to increase their dividend because they don't sell options till the next morning. So they don't make near as much money as Jay and the boys do selling it the night before, but they have more upside. Anyway, I tried to explain that to Jay, and he wasn't buying it. He said no. he said that fund is going to, what did he say? Well, here's what he said. He said that he thought as volatility continued to get depressed, their dividend would become less and less attractive. He thinks his dividend riding at the 24-hour option rather than the 7-hour option is a more attractive benefit. And I tried to explain that they aren't capped overnight. He didn't agree with me. He doesn't think that's going to make a difference. So, be that as it may. All right. Let's look at YieldMax. Okay, they made their distribution announcement. Okay, so we'll start with Tesla, everyone's favorite there. So they paid $1 a share. All right. I'm trying to think, $1 a share, 70%. I mean, yeah. What was everyone expecting? I didn't do an estimate video this month because just because I've been too busy, like you guys know. Anyway, all right, 70 cents. All right, OR, 27%, 24 cents. I don't know. Aptly, do we have any Aptly people out there? You guys happy with 32 cents? All right, NVDY, holy shit. 247. Wow. Wow. That's crazy. AMZ, 76 cents. Comes out to 40%. A lot of people like AMZ because they view it as being more stable. And I would say just right here, you can see that there's a 60-point difference in yield. The yield, the high yield, which is the dividend, is what causes the instability. So yes, AMZ is way more stable, just based on that alone, along with these other ones that have the lower yield. Now, that's other things being equal. That doesn't mean that one of these ones with the low yield can't drop 50% and still get crushed. Of course, that can happen to any of them. So, look at old Coney, $1.57 at 90%. Then we have MSFO. All right, so on MSFO, something else came up in New York I'm going to mention right now. I'm not going to get off the subject, but I noticed, I was talking with some of the other influencers, and one of them, and I forget who it was, I want to say it's Coach, but I don't know. Anyway, shout out to Coach. Could have been retired. I think it was Coach. Was talking about this outperformance. Now, at the time, MSFO was ahead when I was in New York. From what I remember, because I pulled it up on my phone, I think it was right back in this time frame. Anyway, now MSFT's pulled back out ahead. But and I think there was actually two. We were discussing at the time. There was two underlines that were beating the reference assets. Two high yield funds are beating the reference asset. All right, Zomo, 13%. I mean, that's pretty low, but JPMO also 13%. Not a whole lot of volatility in those. Plus, volatility generally is getting crushed. So the bull market goes on and on. Maybe this election will shake things up and get volatility pumped back up. We'll see. All right, AMDY, 50%. That one may be a good compromise between stability and yield, because I believe that one's fairly stable. We're going to look at the option positions in a second. PayPal paid 43 cents. Sky paid 69 cents. So that comes to 32% for PayPal and 42% for Sky. Murny paid 48 cents, 49 cents, call it. That comes to about 40%. AIYY paid 39 cents, comes to 41%. MSTY, $2.33, comes to a big 101%. So it's MSTY, and I guess it's MSTY and old NVDY are just basically tied 101.58 and 101.60. Wow. The battle of the two goats. Which one's the goat in you guys' opinion? In your opinion. All right. This one right here, YBIT. I need to look into this one much. I haven't studied that one much, but Jay and some of the other, he had one of his traders there, and I heard them talking about how crazy the options in this pit are, and they're having. It sounded like it was kind of challenging to do covered calls. I didn't really get the details, but maybe that'll make a good future episode. I don't know if people are interested in YBIT. All right, so Crash paid 63%. Okay, and so what? And Tesla paid 70%. So that is in line with what I would expect whenever these things first started out, because they're basically the same strategy. So if there was no call skew and put skew in Tesla, and there is, but if there was no call skew and put skew, they should be the same skew. They should be the same price. However, the short fund has to buy a deep out of the money call to prevent an unlimited loss. So that cuts into their return. So I would expect the short fund, i.e. Crash, to return a little bit less than the long fund. It's 63 to 70%. That 7% is probably what they spend on that other option. I'm betting. All right. So GDXY 50%. Snowy's too new, right? Or wait. Oh no, they paid 93 cents. I guess it's too new to compute for whatever reason, they didn't compute a number. I guess it's too new. Okay. Then ABNY, well, let's look at this. Okay. The inception date for Snowy. That's why they write a legend so people know what's going on. Is June 10th. The inception date for ABNY is June 24th. Okay. So that one hasn't been around long. Neither of them been around long enough. All right. So let's cover the next item on the agenda, which is the yield max. Which is the Defiance. Now, Defiance, these funds aren't quite as popular as yield max. Maybe I should put this more towards the end. But since I'm the only one that covers Defiance, maybe there's some of you guys that like to see this. So come on, guys. What is going on? This isn't a Windows problem. This is a mic problem. Well, this probably is Windows. And by mic, I mean my alter ego. All right. Darn it. Okay, but since I know there's not a lot of Defiance fans, this is kind of a short trading day. I'll try to make this fast. Let's start with JEPY. Let's just cover the basics here. They sold options at the 55.10 strike, so they want a price above 55.10. Right now, price is at 55.21. Everything's peachy, full profit. Now, here's the catch. Full profit is only $158,000, but it's a little half day. They got $7.36. I look back, that's the lowest they've got lowest they've received since I've been watching these guys. So anyway, but that happens on a half day with volatility compressed. However, it can add 3 cents a share to the earnings per share. So we'll damn sure take it. This dividend estimate, it's only based on 4 days. But yeah, I don't see any blatant errors in it or anything. So it should be, yeah, I stand by that calculation. Hey, Jackson, knock it off. It's okay, buddy. It's okay, buddy. Probably the UPS guys at the door. Jackson's hearing the other dog bark. I apologize for that. Jackson, knock it off, buddy. All right, so let's look at IWMY. These guys sold the 2040 strike 737 times. They got $6.29, which is about 40% less than just yesterday, and less than half of 2 days before that. Anyway, so that's what happens. 2040 is what they sold. So we're rooting for a price above 2040. Right now, the price is 2038.7. All right. So 2040 minus 2038.7 is 1.3. So 1.3 is the amount in the money, right? We just did that in our head, but we can also have the spreadsheet do it. And then the spreadsheet can calculate how many, because remember, we did this 700 times. So we need to multiply $130 times 737. Anyway, that still leaves a profit in the trade, about a 3/4 profit, going for 400,000, making three and a half right now, going for 4.5, making 3.5. We'll take that. Take that. I take that every day. We could have 20 days in a row like that every month, no losses. It'd be beautiful, right? Okay, so there's the capture percentage. We don't really look at that much anymore, and this is a short day. Unfortunately, these guys are underwater on an earnings per share basis. Well, month's young, so we'll see. Dividend estimate is I always check and make sure. If sometimes I don't update the very latest row, and it might make a couple of cents difference, so that's the reason. Sometimes I hedge. Okay, yeah, it did. It made a couple cents difference. All right, I'll try to do that in the future. I'll try to remember to do that when I'm updating the spreadsheets at night. Somehow that one slipped through the cracks. Okay, also, I forgot to update USOY yesterday. USOY is one of the most badass funds they have. I mean, it's killing it. And people are buying it left and right. People are putting money in. Look at this assets under management grow. Now, part of it's because of, look at the shares grow. So they start out the 125,000. Then, and this is just this week. This is from last Friday. They were at 125,000 to this, was it Monday or Tuesday? They had 4.2 million. Today they have 7.5 million. So that's new money coming in. So when that happens, your money won't get diluted. That the ETF makes more shares, and they tell Jay how many more shares are out there, how much he has to work with. And so what he does is he writes the exact amount of options that he can write, not a penny more, not a penny less. So he wrote 225 options for $1.02. I'm sorry. My bad. These were actually, gosh darn it, I am so sorry. I thought I had this done. I believe they were 80s, and I know they were 90 cents. So they were 80s. I want to check it, but also don't want to waste time. Okay. Well, in any event, you can see if they make this profit, it's going to amount to $20,000. But they also have a ladder working right now. They have an options they sold yesterday. When they got new money yesterday, they wrote the 82 strike. So they're going to try to make 34,000 on those. They're going to try to make 52,000 on these that they sold Friday. This 310 is their main position. They sold that Friday. That's why they received more money for the 80 strike than they did on a few days later. Okay, so that's their ladder. I don't have this updating automatically for a number of reasons, but let's just look at it. So USO's current price is 81. Is that right? Yeah, it's exactly $81 a share. So when we're selling puts, we're rooting for prices above these. We have 3 positions open. So we need a price above 80 for this one to be full profit. So that one is full profit right now. Okay. And it expires at the end of the day. These are all Wednesday expirations. Okay. The 82 strike, unfortunately, this one's 81.03 right now. So what do we know? We know that's 97 cents in the money. So we could even just write 97 here and don't even have to worry about the computer calculating it. And it'll update the realized profit. So on that position, we're underwater, $2,600. But we're doing well in the other position. This is how ladders work, or the idea anyway, or how they can work. All right. So on this one right here, the 80, we're in good shape because it's over 80. Okay. So we're looking good. If it stays where it is by the end of the day, this fund should make like 70,000 or something. But look at what that does on an earnings per share basis. This fund, the first day of the month, it made 18 cents. By the second day of the month, it was up 60 cents on an earnings per share. That's got to be wrong, right? I'll check the math on that and get back on that tomorrow. I mean, that just seems, anyway, these guys are murdering it, right? And look at the dividend estimate. I mean, I'd be happy with that. Okay, so let's make sure the dividend estimate is totally accurate. Why does this happen every time? Every time it does this. I don't know why. I updated this yesterday. I do this every time and it doesn't save it. Okay, so this one may not be accurate. I apologize. I don't understand this. As soon as I do something, it's in the cloud. It saves automatically. I've done this like 5 times now, and it keeps switching it back. Okay, so the calculation for this month, divided by, we have to pick up the latest share count. I don't know why this does this every time. All right, so that makes a big difference. That makes a big difference, right? I almost don't think that's right. I don't know how the extrinsic can just come to 18 cents a share, but that's the calculation. Let me make sure this is right. So I guess based on the current share count, it can, because they're adding shares like crazy. Okay. Oh my gosh. So this is a dilution situation. Okay. This fund, unfortunately, I just thought of this. You remember what happened to IWMY back last December? Anyway, if you don't, I made a video about it, but don't look at the video. It had share price dilution because it was growing, and I think it went from, I want to remember, it grew like the assets under management doubled twice in 1 month or something. So we may be in a similar situation here. Okay, so it's important that I updated that and that we don't think the dividend's super high. Well, I'm sorry about getting people excited. We'll stay on top of this, though. I will stay on top of this. Anyway, the share price dilution is really hurting. Let's do this. I'm going to say, I'm going to show you what it would be if it were not diluted. If all those people wouldn't have bought shares, the profit and loss would have been the same. It just wouldn't have been as much money. Look at this. So this is with no share price dilution, no yield tourism. Yeah. 59 cents and 72 cents. Okay. It's still not more than $1 like the other one was. Like I say, I apologize, but I'm glad I checked it. Okay. So let's talk about Tress. I mean, I didn't prepare any content on Tress. Let's just, we're going to look at we'll look at charts and we'll check out Tress's chart. And, all right. So now let's go back to the agenda so I don't get off track. Let's talk about some Tesla single stocks. So now we're going to get out some charts. Then I might talk about Windows a little bit at the end of the program. I'm going to ask you guys for advice. I know there's people out there that love Windows and are good at it, and I have a specific problem. I'm not just a hater. We're going to talk about it at the end of the program. Stick around if you guys like to talk about tech stuff. Okay. Trading view. I want to do just a general market overview before I do the single stocks. I want to look at the ones that are up the most and down the most. So up the most, it's Tesla again today, NVIDIA and NVDY, Tesla and ARK. Okay. All right. And then down, of course, crashes down when Tesla's up. It crashes down 4.74. Tesla's up 5.98. It's off by less than a point. That's better than yesterday. We'll see how it settles out, though. All right. So now let's look at some profit boxes. Now, Tesla finally rolled. Thank God. I should have led with this. I'll try to get better at making the show. This should have been the leading item. It's the Tesla roll. Anyway, live and learn, right? And by the way, I appreciate all the helpful suggestions yesterday. Okay, so these guys finally rolled. That's why I cut off this profit box at the end of the day yesterday. They were in this one, then it stops, and then it goes and it starts up there. Okay, so they had to take a big loss on this position, but of course, it wasn't as much as they gained. I mean, it was actually max profit for the position. It actually technically was the best you could do. The only problem with it is it's creating an opportunity loss. We know the covered calls cap the upside, and I'll quit talking about so much. But anyway, it's an opportunity loss, but it's actually, as far as the strategy goes, you made max profit. So, it's a decent problem to have. All right. Let's look now at the other one. Let's look at NVIDIA while by the way, Crash hasn't traded. They're just letting those options expire worthless. I kind of wondered why they don't roll up. Maybe I'll write Jay an email and tell him he ought to roll up. You think I bet he'd appreciate that. Maybe he just hadn't thought about it yet. And if he sees my email, then he'll think, oh, yeah, we'll roll up. All right. So, but I wouldn't be surprised if they roll up, but they might just, it's kind of a funny week with 4 days. They'll probably just let these expire and buy them back for nothing and roll into next week. So we shall see. NVIDIA. Okay. Now that is a beautiful ladder. That is just a gorgeous ladder. Okay. So let's look. This is Tressa's underline. So we will check Tressa's price because, I mean, this thing's whipping around, but it still just has a hard time escaping the valley of death. This is the Tress trade, the one I didn't prepare any content on. All right, so but this is supposed to be the yield max block. So of course we'll stick with yield max. All right, so here we have Coney. They have a 2-strike ladder. Coney's pulling back today, 2%. They pulled back yesterday. So covered calls are in good shape. But the NAV is getting hurt on this one, of course. And let's look at old Mr. Mr. and NVIDIA are the goats as far as dividend yield goes, but as far as NAV, old Misty's probably been getting killed lately. Mr's down 2.39%. Let's look at Misty. Misty's perfectly hedging it. It's also, I'm sorry, not hedging it. It's perfectly replicating it pretty much. It's almost the same change. So, which is a bad thing for a high yield fund because they're supposed to have buffer on the downside. If Mr's down 2.3, we want Misty to be down 1.7 is the idea. So, all right, let's look at the Bitcoin chart because so many of these stocks are Bitcoin related. I was talking about the other day on a video, just to follow up real quick, that I like this setup when it breaks this bull wedge, it comes back and tests. And then what you would look for is for it not to break the most recent low, which it did. So that was a bad signal. I didn't take the trade. I hope no one else did. It'll probably turn around and go up here. But basically, that's a low risk place to take an entry. So that is what it is. Now let's look at the agenda, of course. Channel news and rants. I really don't have any rants, but let's look at, I got all my rants out yesterday. Like I said, I appreciate all the good advice. Let's look at option strat. We're going to start having more option strat content as far as maybe I'll put the Tesla and crash trades in here at all times. Maybe we'll follow them in real time on option strat just to make it easier to visualize what is going on. So this is the most recent position for Tesla. This is the option J rolled to. He rolled to this the 245 and he rolled into next week. So he rolled up and he rolled out. All right. He received $2.28. He did it in two tranches. He got $2.30 for some and $2.25 for some. I averaged it out just to make it easier. Unfortunately, right now, the thing he sold for $2.28 is worth, if he had to buy it back, we would have to buy at the ask, right? So he, is worth $8. So the portfolio is staring at a loss of that much money. But the NAV, as you guys have seen Tesla's NAV lately, it's just been killing it because it's reflecting the profit that the underline makes. The underline, of course, is Tesla, and Tesla's been on fire. Okay, so that's option strat. I'm going to start making more content on that. Let's look at this real quick. We can even look at the live. We can look at their position right now. So right now, if they had to close this position because the money hasn't got out of it, and they aren't going to close it until the end of the day, but it'd be worth negative 173,000. But we can see as the time passes during the day, we could see the break-even line improving. This is what it looks like when the premiums coming out of an option in this strategy. Then boom, here by Thursday, by Thursday, we're all right. We're finally making money. And then by Friday, we have a chance of making 70,000. Now a lot can happen between then and now. What usually happens is what'll probably happen is Tesla will keep going up and they'll roll this one at a loss, to another one. I mean, that's what could happen. Let's hope that doesn't happen. Let's hope Tesla just Starts going sideways from now on. Okay. All right. So under channel news, the Jay interview. Okay. I stayed up till 3 last night, and the Jay interview is coming along just great. I made a new video and a new thumbnail. I had a video the other day that was 42 minutes that I was talking about that I really worked hard on, and I felt it was good and everything. Anyway, I was disappointed with the viewership, but so then I corrected some things, and I started thinking about it. And I started thinking that I really think that the conclusions that that video made were important and that everyone should want to know. I mean, but I get that most people don't want to sit through a 42-minute video. And I also get that my presentation style, this is dry subject matter anyway. My presentation style doesn't help the matter. So I decided to make a 5-minute recap. And so I had to build a new spreadsheet and a new chart, but I wanted to go back. Remember, it was the tale of 4 Tesla investors. And some of them bought Tesla, some of them bought Tesla, some of them sold Tesla to live off of, some of them. Anyway, they had different money management techniques. I really like the video. Well, my 5-minute video turned into a 10-minute video, but in any event, it's way more watchable in my opinion. So if you couldn't make it through that video, I just kind of summarized it. And so that way you don't have to watch the longer video. And if I ever do a long boring video again, and I'm sure I will, I'll try to do a summary of it for people that just want to know the conclusion. Anyway, the conclusion was, for anyone that's interested, the investor that did the best is the guy that invested in Tesla. He took his $100,000. He invested in Tesla. When he got a dividend, a Tesla dividend, he bought Tesla shares with it. So he used Tesla to build a stake in Tesla. And he came out ahead. He was up 12% after the past year and a half. If you've been doing that with Tesla since inception, you'd be up 12%. Whereas buy and hold, which is the best thing to do, typically in most cases, was only up 7%. So you're beating buy and hold with that method. And that method also has tons of other advantages that we can talk about at a later time. I'm sure you guys understand that. But there were some other legit strategies in there too that held their own with buy and hold. The only strategy that really did not hold their own with buy and hold, in my opinion, was the strategy, the guy that bought $100,000 worth of Tesla shares instead of Tesla. He sold the same amount of Tesla shares to equal the dividend the Tesla guy got. So if the Tesla guy got a $5,000 dividend, the Tesla guy at the same day sold $5,000 worth of Tesla shares. So then he had less shares and he keeps rolling along. And that's not the worst strategy. And I mean, or that's another strategy. And I certainly wanted to look at that. In this situation, that strategy did not work. It's not necessarily because it's a bad strategy, but if you think about, how poorly Tesla, the reference asset or the underlying has been performing, that strategy is not going to work. It's going to be suboptimal in markets that have dropped. Last year, from last summer's peak to this winter's trough was about 70% in Tesla. That's a big ass kicking. It's lots of strategies do poorly in that situation. However, this strategy actually was down 25%. So there was a couple of other kind of middle of the road strategies that were down 3%, down 4%. Buy and hold was up 7%. So those were right around break even, but it was down. You were down 25% if you sold Tesla shares. However, so that guy started with 545 shares of Tesla. He only has like 130 left. However, Tesla's price has been kicking ass. This study was just up to date as of the last dividend. So we'll do a new study as soon as it goes ex dividend. We'll do a new study and we'll see how everyone's doing. And I'll post an update video. I'll try to keep it to 5 minutes, let's say. Okay. Well, I appreciate that you guys sticking here for so long. And yeah, so this is your bonus content for the Big Max fans. Okay. I don't want to seem like a Windows hater. I was talking yesterday how bad Windows sucks. And I'm not, a lot of people that do graphic arts that use Photoshop and Illustrator just think that the UI and the the Mac graphics and UI is just more conducive to art and stuff. And I'm not even talking about that. I think that's a true point too. But what I'm talking about is specific workflow on a PC versus a Mac for the way I work. And that's why I thought I'd ask you guys. I know I have some PC people out there. Maybe my good friend Tiger on Fire, who I haven't talked to in a while, but that's my fault. I need to reach out to him. I need to see how he's doing. But maybe, you know, he probably has a solution or a workaround for this. Okay, so here's what's aggravating. So for what I do whenever I'm not coming on here and talking on YouTube, I volunteer for a nonprofit. It's a friend of mine, and the way he works, he doesn't use email. I know it sounds crazy, but he's a texter. And he'll text me something, and if I email it back to him, he uses email, but he won't get it for 2 hours. The workflow that we have, we go back and forth, and the workflow that we've worked out over the past 2 years is he texts something to me, then I'll do whatever I do on the MacBook, and you can text artwork back from a MacBook. You know, even though the text comes through on my phone, I'll see it on my phone, but it'll also come through on a MacBook. Anyone that has a MacBook understands that. Okay. I can't figure out how to do that on a PC. There's some bullshit program that I looked up. I've Googled it a jillion times. There is some workaround that you can kind of do, but I have never found an effective way to pair the phone with Windows in a Windows environment. But Windows is not that bad. Modern Windows computers are just fine. Windows 7 was the first decent operating system. They finally copied Mac, in my opinion, enough. The Mac UI and feel enough by Windows 7. By the time they got to 10 and 11, it's basically their own version of the OS. It's a very, you know, it's smooth and fast and everything, but it's just little workflow issues I have. So one workaround is I could just say, hey, Joe, we're using email from now on. Okay. But then, you know, my preferred workaround is I'm going to get my MacBook fixed because MacBook is just better for the job I have. But I shouldn't have tried to seem ungrateful about this computer. This is a great computer that I spent a ton of money on. It was very expensive. I bought it. It was open box. It was so expensive. I couldn't afford it. I mean, it was like almost $2,000 in 2018. It's the top of the line. I got an open box for like $1,450 or something. It's a badass computer, and I'm blessed to have it. One other question for any of my Windows people who are still listening. Also, sometimes if I don't touch the screen after a while, the screen will go black and not come back on, and I'll have to reset it. And I've tried to troubleshoot that, and I cannot figure it out. And also, my lighting keyboard doesn't light up anymore, and that's usually an easy fix. You update your device drivers. I understand that. I've fixed that same problem before on other computers. I cannot get my lighted keyboard to light up. Anyway, total first world problems. But if anyone's still around, I really appreciate the heck out of you guys. And I mean, I really do. And I appreciate all the advice yesterday. So I'll get back to work on the J video. And I have a lot of other interesting content coming out. I have a special 4th of July video coming out. So be looking for that. All right, guys. Well, I hope you like the new format. If you do, let me know. If you don't, we can adjust it. But let's remember it's the first day. So I think right off the bat, we're going to move anytime Tesla and Jay do a roll, we're going to put that right at the front. Well, that's going to be number one. And then the Defiance stuff and the news and stuff maybe comes after that. I think that's probably the most important thing that's going on right now. So anyway, but let me know what you guys think. I know I didn't cover all the funds. I barely mentioned Roundhill, but I'll try to cover. I'm going to start covering Curve, and I'll get the buffer report working again, right? And now since I don't come on at 8:30 in the morning, I come on at 10:30. Though there's been 2 hours past, and the buffer report will be fun to look at. So we'll add the buffer report back into the mix as well. All right, guys, have a wonderful day.